People I send.
Welcome to the member update.
He's one of our students.
Good morning.
So we'll get some there, but yes.
We got a lot of people attending this member update one way or another, over 150 people. About 89 of them are streaming, and I've been checking on the health of that streaming server regularly, and it seems to be feeling quite robust, so that's good. But we also have a lot of people in person at various places around the state. So we'll start, as we always do, by doing introductions. So we will start at Rails in Bolingbrook. Is anybody at Rails in Bolingbrook?
We are.
Hi, Sue Wilsey and Claudia from Helen Plum Library.
Small group.
Is there?
I heard something.
Just the two of us.
There's something up with
All right,
the
well, I
microphones.
don't know. I'm sure that this is not a sign of things to come.
You see us? Are we supposed to see us?
I see them.
It's volume.
This is the first time I've been
Volume.
to one of these.
Can you turn up your volume?
Hey, Kendall,
I think.
do you know if we're supposed to see ourselves on the
Okay.
screen?
Can you tell us who you are?
In Bolingbrook,
Yes.
What, Cindy?
Sue Wilsey.
You don't see yourself. Okay.
Yeah, yesterday when I was talking to Ryan, he said he could see me.
Okay.
I couldn't see him. So.
Maybe
Bolingbrook.
where that circle there.
Maybe, or the lower. I feel like the Brady Bunch. But she'll call on us and I'll unmute.
All right, we'll
We are
start
muted.
here. And then we'll go back. Okay, would you start, please?
Hi, I'm Leslie from LaGrange.
Rachel from LaGrange.
Debbie from LaGrange.
Wow.
Ann Slaughter, Rails.
Grant Halter, Rails.
Jane Greenhills.
Roberta from Moore's area.
Ryan Heppel, Rails.
Jessica Barnes, Rails.
Deirdre Brennan, Rails.
Nikki Zimmerman, Rails.
Jean Demas, Lyle Library District.
Julie Millibeck, Downers Grove Public Library.
Paul Mills, Fountaindale Public Library District and Vice President of the Rails Board.
Matt Hammermeister, Pinnacle.
Bonnie Schwantz, Westchester.
Joe Philippek, Rails.
Anna Beam, Rails.
Juanita Durgan, Justice.
Karen Keefe, Hinsdale.
Great. Okay, we'll go back to Bolingbrook. Who's in Bolingbrook?
Sue Wilsey and Claudia Crasby from Helen Plum Library. Can
Great.
you hear us? Okay.
Yes. It's nice to see you. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Coal Valley. Anybody in Coal Valley?
Yep, Angela Campbell, Rock Island.
Jennifer Ryder, Western District.
Leanne Bredberg, Andalusia.
Jeff Stafford, Robert Jones, Coal Valley.
That's it.
Carolyn Coulter, I'm sitting in my office.
Hi, Carolyn. You don't want to put your
Hello.
video on, huh?
No.
All right. Okay, East Peoria.
Me. Liza Campbell, Peoria Public Library and Rails Board. Rhiannon Schultz, Washington.
Ann Reeves, Eureka Public Library.
John Richmond, Alpha Park Public Library.
Erica Laughlin, Rails RSA.
Kendall Larson, Rails, RSA.
Great, thank you. All right, let's see. We'll go to our other sites. Aurora. Excuse me.
Bonnie Ellis, St. Charles Public Library. I'm the only one in the room.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Freeport.
Ashley Huffines, Freeport Public Library, and I'm the only one here.
Okay, thank you. ILA in Chicago.
They're there.
I saw them.
We saw her.
Oh, she is.
Are you muted,
she's-
ILA?
I think so.
Yes, we're muted. Sorry. I'm unmuted now. Everyone's laughing.
Okay.
This is Diane Foote here at ILA, and I'm here with.
Rob Morrison, National Lewis University.
Is that it?
And that's it. Did you hear us? Yep.
Okay. Yep. Great. Thank you. And nobody from the Illinois State Library today. They had other meetings. Did you say Kankakee is up? Kankakee? Do we see Kankakee, Ryan? All right.
They're unmuted though.
We will move on.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Are you talking?
I'll disconnect and reconnect.
Okay, we're going to reconnect you. Okay, LaSalle.
Hi, we're here. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you want to introduce yourself? Patty Smith from Robert Rowe Library.
Jan Ambrose from Marseilles Public Library.
Julie Whalen, Princeton Public Library.
Matt Miller from Putnam County Public Library.
Jay Coleman, Putnam County.
Okay, great. Thank you. Nobody's in Macomb, is that right? Okay. How about New Lenox?
Michelle Croswick, New Lenox.
Marie Bormett, Peatone.
Lauren Offerman, Three Rivers.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. No Quincy? No Quincy. How about Sterling?
Hi, Lisa Richter, Chadwick Milledgeville School District. Just me this morning.
Okay, thanks. How about Sycamore? Anybody in Sycamore? Okay.
No one unmuted.
Okay. How about, and last but not least, Vernon?
Greetings from Vernon. We have a rowdy crowd here. This is Mary Witt from Rails, and I'll let the crowd introduce themselves.
Jay Caston from the Vernon Area Public Library and Rails.
Roxanne Bennett, Fox River Valley Public Library.
Kate Hall, Northbrook Public Library.
Amy Flass Peterson, Deerfield Public Library.
Carmen Batlan, Highwood Public Library.
Becky Frank, Trinity International University.
Jennifer Drinka, Antioch Public Library District.
Jim Schultz, McHenry Public Library.
Sarah Murray, Algonquin Area Public Library.
Donna Culhane, Harvard Community College.
Cindy First, Vernon Area Library.
Jorge Perez, River Grove Public Library.
Evelyn Cunico, Glenview Public Library. Selena Gomez Veloz, Waukegan Public Library. Diane McNulty, Cary Area Public Library.
And that's it from Vernon.
Okay, great. Did I miss anybody out there?
Feel the need to be announced.
No.
Okay, not that, okay. All right, so as I said, we've got a lot of people. We've got the streaming going on. So we'll also get questions from the streamers, and Nikki, my right arm here, is going to be relaying those. Yep. If you can't hear at any time, you need to speak up. And I think you just need to speak up in general, because the people who are at the far reaches of the room, in some cases out there, we couldn't hear you very well. So just remember that, you know, technology is our friend, but sometimes it's not our friend. So, okay. So, I don't think there's anything else that I have to say. Oh, yes, there is one other thing I want to say to start. So, I want to introduce specifically Grant Halter, who is our second newest staffer here at Burr Ridge. He is our data coordinator and research analyst, and he is going to be helping us and you all with lots of projects and information related to data and analyzing data, things like, you know, telling your story, return on investment, all that kind of good stuff that you've asked us for in our strategic plan, that it can be hard for you to get individually. He's going to be helping all of us. So he just started, so, you know, be patient. But we're very excited to have him. We stole him from Oak Park, so we've done a few of those, right, Ann? Anyway, so welcome, Grant, and
thank you.
I hope you enjoy your first of many member updates. Okay, so we're going to start out with a discussion of the Illinois minimum wage and in how to move forward with that. Diane and I are going to do a kind of a tag team, and Diane's going to start out by just kind of reviewing where we are and this, sort of the facts of the case and advocacy that ILA has been doing and may be doing. So go ahead, Diane.
Thank you, everybody. And thanks, Dee, for having me come here to talk about this a little bit. It's no surprise to anyone. It's not new news that the minimum wage legislation was passed earlier in this legislative session very, very quickly without a great deal of opportunity for input. Not a lot has changed on the legislative front. Really, nothing has changed on the legislative front since we first heard the news and put out the news about this legislation. Some time ago, ILA did have a Zoom session about this, a little bit of a Q&A. Some of you may have been in that session, or some of you may have accessed the chat transcript and the information that's included on ILA's website. But for those of you who may not have been, or even if you were, but that was several weeks ago, let me go over pretty much the crux of what the law says, if this will be helpful. And if it's repetitive for some folks who are on top of this, I apologize, and please just bear with us. So basically, the minimum wage in the state of Illinois will rise. It will rise over a period of years. There has been some relief built into this plan because the legislature recognized it would be pretty jarring to go from the current minimum wage at $8.25 up to $15 in one go. So there is a staggered several year phase in. As of January 1st, 2020, this upcoming January, the statewide minimum wage will be $9.25. Starting in July, so 6 months through that year, 2020, it'll rise to $10. January 1st, 2021, it'll rise to $11. January 1st, 2022, it'll rise to $12. So you'll notice in the first year there's a phase in with a 6 month period. After 2020, the phase in period goes yearly, not every 6 months. So 2022, $12, January 1st, 2023, $13, January 1st, 2024, $14, and January 1st, 2025, $15. So that is the schedule of phase-in period over the next several years for the minimum wage. Now, to whom does this minimum wage regulation apply? Most of the folks in our bailiwick, when we first heard that this was in the House and Senate, even before it was signed, expressed concerns to us about particularly part-time teenage shelvers. But we know there are other people in the library beyond just part-time teenage shelvers who currently do not earn this amount of money. The legislature did see fit to grant exceptions for workers under 18. So the amounts that I listed a few moments ago are for those under 18. 18 and up this is applicable to 18 and up. It's an exemption for anyone 17 and 364 days old, basically. We've had some subsequent questions about whether partway through the year somebody turns 18. You know, where does it kick in? And we think, but I don't know that it's clearly stated in the law, but we believe at this point, we've had our legislative consultant check this out, but it hasn't been tested, obviously, since this is still coming down the pike, that the minimum wage requirements would kick in on their birthday. It wouldn't be the next fiscal year or the next calendar year or what have you. It would be on their birthday. So people might be getting some automatic raises when they turn 18, I suppose. For employees under 18 years of age, there's a different scale. You don't get to just pay them whatever you want. There's also a scale here. So starting January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, the minimum wage and it's an and. It's a Boolean and for those of us in library land. It's employees under 18 years of age and who've not worked. legislation is phrased, there's so many triple negatives, who have not worked more than 650 hours during a calendar year. So, 649 hours and, 59 minutes, I guess. $8 an hour per hour from January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. It'll go up by 50 cents for the calendar year 2021 to $8.50. It'll go up to $9.25 in 2022, an increase of 75 cents over the previous. Another increase of this will be a $1.25 increase, $10.50 for calendar year 23, up to $12 per hour in calendar year 24, and up to $13 an hour after January 1st, 2025. So you can see that there's a slightly lower tier for folks under 18 who work fewer than 650 hours in a calendar year. That's not either or, it's and. They have to meet both of those conditions to qualify for the lower rate of pay. So that is kind of where we stand now. The legislature did see fit to build in some relief for small businesses in the form of tax credits. They did not see fit to build in any form of relief based on size of anyone's budget, whether you're a business, a municipality, or a nonprofit, or anything like that. They have offered tax credit relief for businesses with fewer than 50 people. That obviously doesn't help municipalities, right, or libraries, because or anyone who's not subject to tax. So that, I think, is where, if we were able to ask for anything, we would try to seek for some relief. But with that in mind, and I think I'm going to give Dee a little bit of a segue here. We know that this puts a lot of pressure on libraries with limited budgets, which is all libraries, right? Especially when there are the specter of property tax freezes hovering around, when this is what we advocate against all the time, an unfunded mandate. You're going to require us as libraries to increase our expenses without enabling us to increase our revenues. It's really tough. On the other hand, it's no secret in librarianship that librarians are underpaid, right? Like our workers really deserve to be paid a living wage. Our workers do deserve a raise. We do deserve ways to be able to pay people what they're worth and to be able to attract the best and brightest to come work in our libraries, because we know how great we are, but we need to be able to pay people a living wage. So this is a little bit of a mixed bag legislation. We realize it puts pressure on budgets, but it's not entirely a bad thing because it helps bring our workers up to where they need to be in terms of the money they can earn. Does anyone have any questions for me, or do we want to lead into Dee's part a little bit now and take questions later? Nikki, is there anything in the chat?
There is something, I'm not sure if you can address this or not. I'm not sure who is commenting, but it says, we were told by the Department of Labor that if our teens were already working at $8.25 an hour, then we have to move them up the same as 18 and older.
Wow, that is new to me. I did not know that. Yeah. I'm going to take that down, and I'll have Derek look into that. That is new to me. I have not heard that before. So the Department of Labor informed this person that?
Yes.
State Department of Labor? Okay.
Just as Department of Labor. Maybe they'll...
Okay.
Someone else is saying, we pay our maintenance man as an independent contractor. The minimum wage applies to him as well. That's a question. Does the minimum wage
I don't know. I would say it would not apply to an
contractors?
independent contractor, but I don't know for sure. Okay, so let me take down these questions. So, Department of Labor said if a teen shelver, for example, a person otherwise eligible for the lower rate.
Yeah.
And Diane, we'll have the chat transcript too, so, right?
Ryan, yes.
Excellent.
So,
Then I'm not going to
you
write these down.
we can always
Thank you, Dee. I won't scramble.
Yeah.
You guys can get me those questions. Okay, great. Thank you.
And it strikes me that there's going to be a lot of questions like this. Those are both, really important questions to get answered. And I think we probably need to figure out a way to get them all and look into them in an organized fashion. Wouldn't you say?
I would.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll figure that out.
Oh, and they did respond, Illinois Department of Labor.
Illinois Department.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Anything else for the streamers?
Nothing.
So, as Diane said, this is certainly a mixed bag. I would say that in addition to the obvious benefit of increased wages for library workers at the lowest level, I did want to also point out that the state did, in their commentary on the bill, which I have now lost, say that this will also bring in additional tax revenue, which certainly can't be a bad thing for the state in general, because obviously as your income goes up, you pay more income tax as well. So, and I think that there will probably end up being other things like other revenue-based aids, assistance, whatever, that we'll find out over time. I mean, this happened really quickly. It didn't happen that long ago. So with that, at least we have a little bit of time to prepare for it, which is really what we wanted to talk to you about next. I think that, we've been talking internally, certainly Joe and his folks in continuing education are going to be working together with ILA at least, and probably Heartland, to get together some workshops on how to plan and come up with projections for how this is going to affect you, or how to prepare for it. I do think that it's very important that we. I think as an industry, as a profession, it will not do us any good to be, looking like we are opposed to a minimum wage increase. That is not something that libraries want to be saying. I think that we have to be able to communicate what the problems are in terms of our budgets and the unfunded mandate. But it's not going to, I think, assist in our credibility if we don't, try to, find the positive in this and work on it from in that way. So, having said that, I would like to throw it open and hear from all of you about additional questions you may have, ways that we can assist you in training, whatever. If you want to tell me I'm crazy, that's fine too. You would be the first to say that. That you disagree with me, that's fine. So let's have a conversation about it, because I know that you must have a lot of things on your mind. So who wants to start?
Deirdre, we have a comment here at Vernon. Oh, sorry.
Let's, I think Julie Milivek here, so go ahead, Julie.
Milivek from Downers Grove Library. Just a comment that this really gives us a very strong message to our local legislators about the property tax freeze, the fact that most of our libraries are funded primarily through property taxes. That is not true for your municipalities, for your park districts, and that this really does hit libraries hard, whereas we also want to pay our employees fairly, and how that really could affect us if the property tax freeze goes through. So I encourage all of you, make that appointment. They're on break right now. Make that appointment back home at their home office. Stop in, bring them a swag bag. I have an appointment with our newest legislator on Tuesday, where I'm bringing her everything from business card holders printed at our 3D printers in the library, everything library logo, and then talking about why the property tax freeze disproportionately affects libraries. And so it's a great opportunity. Stop in the next couple of weeks, because this really is a prime time and an excellent message.
Thank you. Yes, that's a good positive way seize it as a tool. Exactly, yes. Yes, Mary.
Maybe you could introduce yourself again. And
This is Roxanne Bennett, Fox River Valley Library District. And what you said
Hi,
about-
Roxanne. We can barely hear you, so
Okay.
I don't know if you can move a microphone or you can move, or we don't want to miss anything.
Is that better?
Yes, much.
All right. So having worked in a couple of different states, that one of which had much less funding for public libraries, I would just encourage libraries to begin, that aren't actively using volunteers for things like shelving and somebody to help your professionals with programs and that sort of thing, to really look at those opportunities, because other states do, libraries in other states do that. We've been doing it at our library, Fox River Valley, for about 3 years, developing our volunteer program and creating volunteer job descriptions. In order to do it well, you need to have a coordinator and an intake process and do background checks for them. But one of the real benefits is also getting some real buy-in from the community. And so it's not all a downside.
Absolutely.
I have a comment.
We have a comment here, yes.
The state library will need to be aware that we may need to cut staff and open hours. We might no longer meet the standards in these two areas.
That's
a consideration.
It's understood, yep. At least in the short term, especially, yeah.
I think we're going to want to.
Deirdre, we have something else. Oh.
Yep. No,
we have
go ahead.
something
Good.
else here. We need to get a microphone over there, which we don't. We have limited microphones here in Vernon, so we're going to be passing them around.
That's okay. It's no problem.
Lena's coming over here.
I'm just curious, currently my lowest paid position is above minimum wage. So I'd like to end up knowing what the expectation is to bring, am I going to be increasing my wages anyway to bring it in line? Or am I going to be able to wait until that minimum wage comes up to what I'm paying before I start moving everybody? So I think my lowest paid position is $11 currently. And so it's going to take them a few years to get there. So I just don't know what the expectation, should I be moving it progressively up, to match what it would be had they been starting this, that year at minimum wage. So.
And I think
this is Diane at ILA. Sorry, Kate, let me just address that if you don't mind. Or do you have a comment, another comment, or do you want to address that?
I have a tangential one, but I could wait. Go first, Diane.
Okay. The law, as it's written, doesn't say anything about that situation. That's why I'm so intrigued to hear this comment from someone who commented that the Department of Labor has had an interpretation this way. I don't believe I think the law is silent right now, as it stands now, on what you do with people who are already earning more. I would have assumed, and we all know what happens to people who assume, I would have assumed you could just wait till the floor reaches that level of your lowest paid person. But that is something that we're going to be looking into and clarifying, especially in light of some knowledge that the Department of Labor has weighed in on this. So thanks for that. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Dan. So this is Kate Hall from Northbrook. Mine is more kind of like adding on to what Selena was saying. What we're looking at Northbrook right now is doing cost projections to see how many ranges are being impacted. I own that I am at a library that is very well funded, so we are also above where, we're good for a couple years, but I know eventually it'll catch up. But how far up the salary schedule are people going to be impacted? I'm sure that will be something that we'll discuss in these workshops, but that's something that we're really grappling with. And I know when I was at New Lenox, hey Michelle, we paid our librarians $15 an hour. So that would have been devastating. So I think just also helping all of us recognize the incredible diversity of Illinois libraries, that we have people with budgets of, $30,000 a year, and then you have people like me with a budget of $7 million, and there isn't going to be a one-size-fits-all solution.
I'd love to answer.
Right. So
yeah.
We have one more
Selena,
comment here.
I'm
sorry. We have one more comment here at Vernon when you're ready.
I'm Jennifer Drinka from Antioch. Our library we do pay people less, substantially less. Our low pay right now is $9.46 an hour, and it goes up maybe a quarter a year. And so I've been working on the projections going out for the next 5 years, and have figured out at this point we can't move the lowest pay grade up without them quickly surpassing the next pay grade, and so on and so forth, all the way up to me. And so I've done these charts and things, which I could show anybody that's going to be here later today. So for us, we need to start this year to even get us going to get to where we need to be, and it's going to cost us $70,000 this coming year, which is huge for our library. So, but I'm excited about it because we have a hard time when we have jobs open. We get very few applicants. We lose people in the middle of the interview process because of the pay. And so I'm excited about it, but I don't know what it's going to mean for us in the long run, because then IMRF goes up too. So that's what I had to add.
Mary, can I add something?
Oh, can we have one more here from Vernon? We have
a big crowd, so we have a lot of comments. We used to do this at my library up until a couple of years ago. The minimum wage currently, if you're under 18, is 50 cents less per hour than the adult minimum wage. So I think that that comment about the Illinois Department of Labor saying that if you're already paying your staff who are under 18, you're not taking advantage of that ability to keep them below minimum wage. I think what perhaps they're saying is you can't then take advantage of that later. Like if you have already decided you're not going to pay them 50 cents less now, then you can't apply that exemption to them later. If that makes sense.
So I've got a couple if you want to hear.
Okay, we've got a couple more. I'm going to circle back to Selena first, just for a minute. So I'm assuming, Selena, that the subtext sort of, or the background of your question was keeping the appropriate differences, gaps, whatever you want to call it, between salary levels, right? Of the different grades in your library. Is that correct?
Yes.
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 Yes. So, and I think this is an example of the kind of training topic we're going to need it's something HR Source can help us with, I think, and other experts like that. But I think we're all going to become experts on those kinds of topics, and so we'll add it to the list, and we're going to need to help each other figure that out. So yes, Nikki.
And I think these are kind of along the same line. Israel's going to help us with salary compression. Right now, only a few people will be affected, but it'll be half my staff by the end.
Right. Yeah, salary compression, that's the term, thank you. And that's that's going to get a big issue, especially as time goes on and the minimum wage goes higher.
And I think along the same lines is who will offer us free help in figuring out feathering the salary scale.
Yep. We will. It is not free, but you already paid for it. So it's a little.
This is Diane also, and HR Source has offered some workshops and some help, but it is for their members as well. So for those who aren't members of HR Source, then that there's a rub there. But I think that's a good suggestion that you have to maybe invite someone from there to speak at an ILA or Rails or Heartland or joint, what have you, webinar or session along with a panel. It sounds like some of you guys are already so far ahead in doing your charts and looking at how to feather and et cetera. One type type of structure Dee and I talked about before was a webinar with a panel of a librarian from all different sizes of, we're not going to have 20 panelists, but, 5 panelists or 4 panelists from public libraries of different sizes, and perhaps also somebody from the university world too, because the University of Illinois system is going to be really hit hard. We've heard we understand obviously, but we did hear from them by this law, not just in the library, but across the board. So, we're talking a lot today about public libraries, but it affects, everyone really as well. So some kind of panel presentation that would have representation from different types and sizes of libraries, as well as a compensation specialist from a place like HR Source or Association Forum of Chicagoland or some such like that, I think might be in the cards for perhaps this summer or fall.
Yes, and I think I'm going to let Joe speak a little bit because we have a partnership with HR Source.
Right.
They actually offer. Well, I'll let you talk about it.
No, I've obviously already spoken to them about sort of offering something on this topic.
Which we make available to all of our members.
Right.
You don't have to be a member.
Members and non-members. Obviously, members have the benefit of calling their hotline and getting some sort of individualized support. In talking to members about this, I think and I think, Diane, you alluded to this, that it's, on the one hand, help with the numbers part of it, the math, how do I figure this out? But I think it's also, and what we're doing now is sort of sharing the more practical, like how are you dealing with this and what may be creative ways libraries that are forced to really have to make some tough decisions, perhaps, deal with this. So to get help on the one front, but then also being able to hear from one another and providing you guys a platform to sort of share your experiences is, I think, the kind of two things that we as a system, along with our colleagues at ILA and elsewhere, need to do. So that is the plan for, hopefully some things to put on the calendar this summer.
Great. Anything else from you?
One
Nikki?
just came in. I haven't even read it yet. Are there any academic libraries present who can speak to work-study student workers? That's a federally funded grant. What's happening with that?
Anybody out there from an academic library who knows about this?
We have someone here at Vernon, if you could introduce yourself. And
Becky Frank from Trinity International. I've not heard official words, so this is just what I've been in conversation with our department who heads up work study. What we've been told is that our students will have to be going to the same minimum wages. We're still being affected by all of this as well. We have not been told. There has been no conversation about whether or not we'll be getting any additional work study funding to allot for this. So we're in a very similar situation as all of the rest of you public libraries. I'm doing projections that are saying by the end of 2020, I've got to find $75,000 if I want to keep my staffing levels at the same rate. But we've already been told by our administration that there will be no money coming our way. We have to figure it out on our own. So without the increases in federal work study funding, we're also talking about, how do we cut staff? How do we redistribute our positions and our work and things like that? And we don't necessarily have the ability to bring in volunteers like a public library would. So I think I remember that National Louis is there. I don't know if they've heard anything else, but that's the conversations that we're having on our campus so far.
This is Rob Morrison. I haven't heard a thing. I haven't talked to my finance people, but I think it's the same situation. But I will be talking to them.
So what about the other sites? Let's, does anybody here in Burr Ridge have anything at this point that they want to add? Okay, anybody in Bolingbrook? You have questions or comments or, anything you want to tell us that you need? Not in Bolingbrook? How about in Coal Valley?
I just turned it on. Did you have a question?
Oh, yeah, this is Jeff from Coal Valley. I'm curious, really tangentially, but is there any formal property tax freeze legislation moving forward that we should be aware of?
I think that's
This
a
is
question
Diane,
for you,
at
Diane.
ILA, and yeah, it sure is. And we do have a list of all pending legislation that we are following. It needs to be updated because the legislation is a fluid aspect of what's happening in the state at this time of year. But it is fairly current, and the property tax freeze pieces of legislation are listed on the ILA website. And I can either push out, Dee, is there a way to just push out to people a link, or you could just go to ILA.org and click on advocacy. That's really where it is. Under Illinois legislative issues, I will say that with the makeup of the Governor's State House and the General Assembly at this time, there is less appetite there in Springfield for property tax freezes than there has been over the past couple of years. So we don't see too many of these having the legs they had during the budget crisis of the past couple of years. I don't want to be Pollyannish or make promises, but there's less appetite in Springfield for that type of legislation today, which is hopefully good news.
Yeah, yes, and I think that I would second that, that we are hearing a lot more positive things come out of Springfield in terms of not being so serious, for lack of a better word, about property tax cuts or freezes. Again, not to be Pollyanna-ish, but there is a different atmosphere down there, and I think that's good. I think that's another thing to take advantage of too. So, okay, that was Coal Valley. Anybody else in Coal Valley? It's 20 to 11. I know that this is really important, but this is not the last or the only time. It's only the first time that we will be discussing this, but if there's something on your mind or something that you really, that you want to say right now, please do so. We will obviously be working on training in a variety of forms. Perhaps we need to also just, what I've been thinking as we've been sitting here, Joe, is even some, roundtable conversations among like libraries or different libraries in various geographic locations, because I think just exchanging information and the way that things that people are already doing in more of an informal way could be useful. I think there's a lot of different things that we can do, and we'll be I think probably be reaching out to some of you all about what might work best. If you have ideas right now, we would love to hear them. Any suggestions? Any thoughts?
I do have just one question.
Okay, we have another question from a streamer.
That she would like specific information about this law and how are part-time workers' salaries affected.
Okay, I think the best thing to do is to go to the ILA website. Is it under advocacy? Did you say, Diane?
Yep. Here's the breadcrumb. It's ILA.org advocacy, and in the right-hand menu, there's Illinois minimum wage resources. It's pretty easy to find.
I posted a link in Rails Live.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it outlines all of those levels that I just kind of rattled through at the beginning of this conversation. I saw a couple people frantically writing down, but it's all written there, out there.
Right. And I think that
Deirdre, we have one.
Yes.
Sorry, we have one final comment. We promised this would be the final comment on this issue. From us.
Vernon.
From us.
This is Roxanne Bennett from Fox River Valley Library again, and I think it's great to be thinking about summer and fall workshops. Would encourage Rails to recognize that library districts are in budget cycles right now, and we're actually presenting our budget to our board, our draft budget for this coming fiscal year to our board on next Tuesday. We're not feeling like there's going to be a huge hit this year, but some libraries that are working closer to the vest may be in a real panic right now, facing budget and looking at a phase-in that starts this year and how they do that. So I would encourage Rails to try to figure out some way to identify those libraries and help them triage for that first year in preparation for then doing full workshops and that sort of thing in the fall. That's it.
All right.
And I lied. We have one more. We want to sneak in one more question. Promise. This will be the last
I just want to say that's great advice. Thank you, Roxanne. Of course, you're correct. Yes, lots of people are doing budgets now, including us. Yes. Next comment, Mary.
So, Jennifer from Antioch again. One thing I would love if Rails and or ILA would have time for it is some kind of statement about, Deirdre, how you were saying that this is a positive thing that we could share with our boards, because I don't want it to just come from my voice, like, oh, staff should be getting paid more, and this is what the law says. I like the idea that if this is a united front, that's like, this is positive, library workers are underpaid, I would love some kind of statement or brief letter, something that I could share with them. My presentation is Monday night, so.
Okay.
So I'm ready.
No problem.
Yeah, great.
This is Diane again, and I see that this is Diane again. I see the ILA president is there in the room with you. Cindy, is this something we want to put on the agenda for our board meeting for next week? Maybe that's not going to help anybody who makes the presentation Monday night, but do we want to try to draft something?
Yes.
Okay.
It won't help Jennifer for Monday. So we're meeting Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll put some. I'll talk with Diane and with Cindy, and I'll put something out on the director's list that will be less lovely and wonderful than what ILA comes up with. I imagine, but it'll be quicker. Maybe for some of you who need it right away. So. All right. Now, like I said, I don't want to cut off the conversation, but we have other exciting topics. So I guess I will cut off the conversation. All right, going once, going twice. Anybody want to say anything more at this point? Okay. Great. So we will move on to yet another non-controversial topic, system membership standards. Okay, now of course, I'm definitely thinking about the system membership standards in light of the conversation we just had. I just want to reassure you about that, okay? But I mean, if they need to be modified, I've said all along they can be modified, but so at this point, I just want to give you an update about where we are, what we've been up to, and what our next steps might be. So, let me find the appropriate piece of paper here. So we did the data collection, and I know that a lot of you, we had almost 800 libraries complete the standards data collection out of 1,200 by March 31st. We will be reaching out to the rest of you because the State Library has told us that we need as complete and accurate account as we can get. So we're extending the data collection period. I would say that overall, and I'm a very positive, optimistic person. Some of my staff who had to deal with this on a daily, hourly basis, who aren't in this room because I think they're still exhausted, would not perhaps be so positive about the fact that we were doing 3 of these data collection projects at the same time. Certification, the interlibrary loan traffic survey, and then the membership standards. But in any case, I think that it turned out to be a great engagement project for us. I think we learned a lot. We learned that, I'll just give you some examples of the questions that we got. We learned that a lot of people, a lot of our libraries really didn't know much about L2. Now, for us, L2 is extremely important for the state as well. It's how we keep track of your contact information for important things like the minimum wage, like delivery, like training of all kinds, like whatever. And if you don't know how, and this is obviously the general you, all the staff in all the libraries don't know how to log into L2 and don't know what your password is, you're missing a lot. And so that's something that, I mean, we kind of knew that, but it's even, I think, more widespread probably than we thought. We learned that we can't necessarily ask a special library for budget information because sometimes that's proprietary and confidential, which makes perfect sense when you think about the way special libraries are funded and the way they work. We learned that school libraries, most unfortunately, have little to no information about their funding. And so we had a lot of conversations with school staff about they don't know how much money is spent on the library, but they were really eager to find out and to actually have that information. So I think that was a very sort of empowering thing to ask. And now they have that information. We had people who didn't know about the Illinois library laws. Now, I have to say that of course, not everybody is going to know about that, but I think that we probably do need to increase the knowledge amongst library staff and administrators, managers, supervisors, that there are a lot of laws that govern libraries, and that the more you know about them, the more probably the better off you are. Comments about how this is duplicative of what libraries already are doing for IPLAR, which is absolutely true. And one of the main things that we are going to be working on this year, and that Grant knows that his first of many assignments, is to figure out a way to bring together certification and membership standards and the traffic survey and maybe even IPLAR, so that it's coordinated and maybe a single sign-on and all that good stuff, the way data collection should be done. So that is my pledge. And it's not just IPLAR. There's the academic libraries also fill out forms for, I think it's called IPEDS. So there's a lot of work to be done. We're not done with the data collection, and we're going to be really improving it for next year. So we learned a lot. As I said, we do need to extend the data collection deadline. Grant just got here, so we haven't done any analysis. I'm sure there's going to need to be changes, if not just based on the minimum wage, itself, just based on other things we find out. We need to work with the state library to streamline all of this data collection. We need to figure out what's the best timeline for actually doing the data collection. And then, at some point, hopefully next year, we're going to be implementing all of this. So that's where we are, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a comment.
There's a comment.
Just a comment on L2. She says, I was speaking with a librarian from Chicago. She didn't know about L2, but she gladly gave her the breakdown, which was nice. And then she mentions that also her local elementary school has no current librarian, and she's been assisting them.
Yes, we found out a lot of not so happy things about the, one of the things that we do here, Emily, my assistant, and her team, before they even start, before certification even opens, they do this, I don't know what to call it even, like a wash of L2, of our data with L2 and from last year, and they just send out emails to all of the L2 contacts, and just based on the number of bounce backs that we got, they then try to figure out what happened and who the real contact person is, so that when it's time to do certification, they don't have to do that too. The number of bounce backs from school, library staff, or administrators, is not just schools, but really kind of, very disheartening this year. But that's all, all the more reason why we need to do this. Yes.
We have a question here at Vernon.
Hey,
Yep.
Dee, it's Kate.
Hi,
I have
Kate.
a question on the. Hi. I have a question on the numbers breakdown. Do you have that info handy where you can tell us of the 800 what percentage by each category?
I do not, but we will be getting it.
Okay. Okay, awesome.
I'm sure I'm sure it's mostly publics that have done it, and but yeah, we will get the data for sure.
Okay, cool.
One more question.
Yes, there's another question. Yep.
At some point, will Rails report back to us about how libraries are measuring up?
Yes, absolutely. But first, we want to get all the data, right, Grant? Yep. Absolutely. That's the point. So, any questions, any comments, concerns, anywhere, suggestions from anybody? Okay. Well, you'll be hearing more as soon as we. You'll be hearing more. There's a lot of work still to be done, and it's just gonna take longer. But that's sometimes things do. Okay. I wanted to be sure that you're all aware of, and I imagine that you're not, of this great new app tool for accessing ebooks. It's right up there with sliced bread, I would have to say. And it's called. There was Simply E was an app that was developed by New York Public Library, and it was designed to consolidate access to ebooks, different platforms. So essentially, a patron would walk into the New York Public Library, and New York Public, let's just say they subscribe to, all of the things that we all subscribe to and more. So Overdrive, Cloud Library, Access 360, Hoopla, all the different things. And with Simply E, when the patron logs in to the New York Public, or goes into the New York Public Library, because there is the Simply E app, patrons see all of it consolidated in one place. They don't have to learn how to use different platforms. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, I know that people complain about, rightfully so, that this is something that they don't want, patrons to have to deal with. They want it to be seamless, literally. The staff, it's problematic for the staff. It's a waste of time. So New York Public developed this app with a grant from IMLS, the federal agency, and then there was another follow-up grant where it was Simply E was a grant to expand it for consortia. So in other words, going beyond from just a single library collection, but to consortia collections, consortia like Rails, consortia like Swan, consortia like Pinnacle. And I am happy to say that Matt Hammermeister is here today. Pinnacle is in the process of loading this, or whatever you would call that, for us, for Rails, as part of the grant, because we were a partner on the Simply E for Consortia grant. And Pinnacle is testing that for us. And so Matt is going to talk just a little bit about what it entails. I can tell you a little bit more about that, but not much, because I'm not a tech person, as you probably all know. So you want to talk about that, Matt?
Sure. So as Dee mentioned, Pinnacle has been working with the New York Public Library and a consortium from Minnesota since about late last year, maybe November of 2018, to try to bring all of our various electronic resources together through a single interface. So currently that is Overdrive, Cloud Library, Access 360, BiblioBoard, and they just added RB Digital for audio. So there's not, I know there's other vendors as well, but this is currently what they support. They've mentioned that they want to increase that as well, but for now it's those 4 and then now RB Digital. As Dee mentioned, we are still testing and there's still a lot of like development that's going on, but I can give you an overview of what we've done so far. And the first step with this is really ingesting all of our collections into this one platform. It's not fairly difficult to do. It's basically you just have to ask for API access from each of the different vendors. They're pretty familiar with this process. They've done it before for other customers, so it's not difficult, but each vendor is going to be a little bit different, but they can walk you through it. You'll need some type of account ID, access key, and that's pretty much it. And then the New York Public Library can get you through the rest of the way. We're still in the process with RB Digital, but everybody else has been successfully connected to our database, and we could see all of our content from those 4, Overdrive, Cloud Library, Access, and BiblioBoard. They have all successfully been ingested for our 6 libraries. The second half to getting everything connected would be just connecting to our ILS for patron authentication. That's just a standard SIP connection, so that's nothing difficult there. It's something you guys have already been doing. And I've tested everything on our end, and SIP connection works successfully there. On their end, they're going to do the setup infrastructure for our libraries. So they've added and configured each of our libraries, and even though we're a consortium and we have some that are shared collections and some that are individual collections, all of those collections can be ingested successfully into this platform. Then each library has its own branding, its own logo, its own collection, its own patrons. So everything is still, even though we're a consortium, it still can be individualized to each library. They also then gave us access to the backend system. So then the backend system is where we can get our usage statistics, data on our collection size and what collections have been ingested. There's some configuration settings so that each library can have a little bit of its own settings in terms of what can come through and what can't. There's also staff settings so you can give staff accounts to your librarians so they can update things as well. There's a part that allows you to create and display content carousels. So similar to what you have in like the Overdrive Marketplace, you can have automatically built carousels, or you can build your own. And it's standard. It functions exactly as you'd expect from like the Overdrive Marketplace. There's also then some sections for some other features like complaints and being able to hide books. I didn't get to explore that too much, but that is functionality there in case you have concerns with certain titles being displayed. And then what we recently got, maybe about last week, is we recently were given access to a client app, essentially an iPad app that allows us to actually view what the patron would view here. And actually overall, it's pretty easy to use. So I still kind of have those flashbacks from 5-6 years ago where, you know, Adobe Digital Editions and handing patrons that 12-page packet of instructions. So it's not that. We are leaps and bounds ahead of that. It's you find the book, you click it, it opens. I'm not simplifying. It is actually that easy.
So fantastic.
I mean, there's other things. It really is. There's no like, oh, you need an Adobe ID or you need to do all these other weird things. It really is pretty straightforward. I was able to just log in, I found the book, and I clicked it and it opened. The layout is pretty much what you'd expect from any vendor now. We have horizontal content carousels that are separated by category. You do have the ability to customize those. But there are also some that automatically populate as well. It has the basic functionality that you'd expect, being able to check out. You can return the books early. You can place a hold. You can view your list of checkouts. The main things that you'd expect, they're all there. And then all of the various authentication issues that you might run into, those seem to be working well as well. It can block based on excessive fines or expired card. Blocking notes, all of those kinds of things that you would get passed through from the SIP connection, those seem to be working well as well. Our next steps in the process, we're going to open up the testing to a few more staff members internally within Pinnacle, give some of the people that are on the front lines a chance to get in there and find some of the other quirks that I haven't found yet. And then we have some big picture questions that we want to ask them about functionality and missing features and try to get this on par with the rest of what we're expecting from a vendor app nowadays. That's pretty much where we're at right now.
Great. Yes. Question back here.
Yeah. I just have a question regarding the patron end of things. Is it widespread devices that are going to be able to use this, including Kindles?
That's a good question. That's one of my big picture questions that we don't have the answer to yet. Okay. What they told us as we were going in was Google Play and Apple. And they didn't say Kindle, so I assume that means not Kindle yet, but that's hopefully something that they can do.
And the other thing is, will the patron need a Wi-Fi connection to use this?
So that do they download? Yeah, that's a good question that I don't know. Everything that I've been testing with, I had a current connection. It did download the book.
A lot of
so
do not have one,
yeah.
So they need to be able to download it offline.
Yeah, I can't comment for sure, but it did download the book. But I don't know if it stored it or not, or if they needed it to reaccess.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Matt. So, Pinnacle is doing this kind of out of the goodness of their heart. And obviously there are questions to be asked and answered. But I do think that this is something that we need to pay attention to and be involved in. That's why, Rails has been part of this grant. I think that if this can, turn out the way it's supposed to turn out, this will be a big boon for our consortia and our libraries and our patrons. The Digital Public Library of America, DPLA, is actually taking the lead along with New York Public in getting this, the Simply E app up and running and more widely adopted. Lyrasis is another partner organization that's going to be on providing implementation support going forward. So we are very interested in helping libraries and consortia adopt this over the next year or so and beyond. So I just wanted to let you all, make sure that you know about this, because I think it's a great development for libraries. And Paul's nodding his head. Does anybody have any questions or comments at this point?
I do have a question.
Yes.
This is probably for Matt. How would it handle limited number of checkouts across the different platforms?
I did see some settings on the back end that allow a library to say you can only have a certain max number of checkouts within that platform. However, a patron could easily get around that by going directly to the vendor. So I don't know if it has a way to say, well, you had 6 checkouts here and 4 checkouts here, so now you're up to 10. If you did it all through Simply E, it could track that. But if you go directly, I think they're having difficulties with that.
We have a follow-up question for Matt on that.
I just have one more question. Matt, could you just list the vendors again that you guys are working with in the test environment?
Sure. It's Overdrive, Cloud Library, Access 360, Biblioboard, and RB Digital only for their audiobooks.
So no Hoopla as it stands anyway.
Correct. Not yet, at least.
Thanks.
Yep.
Do you have other questions at this point? You'll be hearing more about this. As you can tell, it's a big, ambitious, hairy goal, I guess, but definitely worth doing. And we want to be in the thick of it because I think it could be really great for the end user, essentially. So, okay, I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Open source, we know that. Yes. So now I get to stop talking for a while, and Mary is going to talk to us about the campaign to help libraries tell their story.
Yes, thank you, Deirdre. I just want to make sure that everyone is familiar with this campaign. This is in direct result to feedback we got from a lot of libraries of all types and sizes last year as we were redoing our strategic plan. You told us that you needed help proving your value to different stakeholders, administrators, patrons, potential patrons, funders, legislators, any stakeholder you could imagine. So as a result of this tremendous feedback, we did add a goal to our strategic plan to help libraries tell their story. And one of the things that we're doing to achieve that goal is this campaign, which we're calling My Library Is ... You know, if you're talking about your library, you'd probably start out the sentence saying My Library Is. We did conduct a survey last month, and we got some tremendous feedback. We wanted to find out more specifics on exactly how we can help libraries. And thanks to everyone that responded, tremendous comments, especially the written comments. There were probably 500 written comments. They were tremendously helpful. And there's a lot of things that you would like Rails to help with. You'd like us to have continuing education. You'd like us to offer templates, videos, just educational material. And we're going to try to do as many of those things as we can. We're working on a website right now which will gather all of this information together in one place. We also want to talk to like ILA and some of the other organizations that are doing similar campaigns and get all that information in the same place. So watch for further details on the website. It'll probably debut sometime this spring. And if you're subscribed to our e-news, we'll put all the information there. We do have a couple things right now for the campaign that I wanted to point out. One is a fantastic video that I think some of you have seen, but I think some of you are not familiar with. It's called Dreams Take Flight at the Library. We worked with a content marketing firm in Chicago called Imagination to produce this video, and they gave us 3 different lengths. It's in Spanish and English. It's just a wonderful video. It shows how children use the library and get engaged in the library. If you haven't seen it, I really encourage you to look at it. It's on our website. If you go about halfway down our homepage, you'll see a little picture there, still from the video, and you can look for more information. We also promoted it. It was the lead article in our e-news yesterday. I know you all are faithful e-news readers, so you can also find it there. But we did this for our libraries to share in any way you want. You can put it on your website. I think Northbrook actually is showing it in our
auditorium
in their
at
auditorium.
the beginning of programs.
You can do that. You can use it via social media. Any way you want to use it, we really encourage you to do it because it's just a short, really powerful snapshot about the power of libraries. We'd like to do more videos. Many people in the survey did ask us. I think there were like 10 different topics they wanted videos on, and of course we probably can't do all 10. But we do see a really high quality video like that as something that only Rails can do and share with our libraries. So we do want to investigate more videos. The other thing that we have right now, you asked for a lot of continuing education, and we'll be working on that. But right now, Joe Philippek has a series going. It's Getting the Most from Your Library Data. And that is also on our, well, you would have seen that in the e-news. That's also in the same section on our homepage as you'll find the video. It's going to be a series of different courses on data. That was another big thing we heard from the series, the survey, that libraries collect this data. What do they do with it? Are they collecting the right data? So this series will definitely help you with that. We also, one more thing I want to say about the website is that once it's up and running, there will be a section for members to, upload and comment on things that they're doing. And we really hope that everybody will take advantage of that, no matter what type of library you're from or no matter what size. You have valuable information to share on how you've told your story effectively. So we really hope that libraries will engage in the process. We, of course, will have material there, but we hope you'll add your own. That's kind of things in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
I'll just add a comment about the video. Although we're saying it's in English and Spanish, it's actually, there's no audio other than music. So if you wanted to stream it, say on, I'm trying to think of an example. If you wanted to stream it in your library on a display that didn't have sound, you could still do that and it would still be impactful, is what I'm trying to say.
That's a good point, yeah.
So it doesn't have to just be, audio where someone can hear
There's
it.
no
yeah.
dialogue or anything.
Yeah, there's
like
no
that.
dialogue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did someone? I think someone here had a comment. Oh.
I just was wondering, it is really good. I wish like a local television station would play it as a commercial.
A PSA.
Like the WGN, like a PSA announcement, like a Channel 9 or something, or a Fox 32.
That's a good idea. We'll look at that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Whatever the local stations are in Galesburg or wherever.
They're short enough, too, that you could share it with your legislature when you go to see them for your visit.
I mean, and we actually, at the ILA legislative breakfast, we showed the video at the Buffalo Grove one.
At most of them, they did.
Yeah, there were a few technical.
Okay, well, so the legislators have seen them, which is great.
Okay. Any other questions for Mary at this point then? Okay then.
Yes. Can we circle back to Simply E?
Yes, of course.
brief.
We're going to circle back to Simply E for a couple minutes.
Yeah, just quick. Let's see. Who do we contact if we're interested in trying the app?
Yep, me.
Okay. D.
For now. Then I'll send it on to somebody else immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, me.
And then just a comment about the cost, the bottom line being that budget's already stretched and whatnot. So.
Right. Well, that's why I'm happy that Lyrasis and I, a lot of these are questions that I can't answer, frankly, that specifically. But Lyrasis, their role in this as a partner organization is to provide implementation support. I don't know what that means. And I think we have to somehow, as I said, Pinnacle's doing it out of the goodness of their heart, at least as far as I know they are. I haven't gotten a bill yet. So we obviously have to figure that out. I think, I'm hopeful that we can put some amount of money in the Rails budget to support adoption, but we need more information on what the cost is. But it's definitely worth looking at, is what I think. What we think. So that's all they have. Okay. All right. We're gonna. My colleague Jessica now. Jessica Barnes is going to talk about Explore More, our attraction pass program.
Great.
And I want you all to know that Jessica is. She has done an awesome job on this. She only works 15 hours a week, and what she has been able to accomplish in that amount of time is remarkable. So hey, just be patient. It doesn't go as fast as you would to.
Well, we launched Explore More Illinois. We had our go live date April 1st, so last Monday. And we had, by the end of that day, we had 87 libraries that were live with 14 attractions with 16 offers. And then by the end of today, we'll have 90 libraries with 17 attractions and 19 offers. So it's going really well. Just a couple things. If you have any issues, if you are on Explore More Illinois right now, please use the info at exploremoreillinois.org, because if I'm not available to solve the issue, it goes to other numbers here, and so that we can try to fix the problem as soon as possible. We have been getting some calls from individual patrons saying, I can't log in. I think a lot of it is like expired library cards, so we've just been telling those patrons you have to contact your home library. I can't solve those issues. I just want to give you a heads up that you might be getting calls from some of your patrons about that. So what are some of the next steps for Explore More? And just a couple reminders. If you are an RSA library and you haven't been added to Explore More, all I need is an email from your director stating you're enjoying, and I can add you almost immediately. So if you haven't been added yet, please contact me and I can add you very quickly. We will be starting testing with SWAN libraries here later this month. I don't have a timetable yet on when we'll get all the SWAN libraries added, but we will start testing to count with SWAN. So that will be happening soon. If you are a non-automated library, we did a pilot program with 2 non-automated libraries and 1 Follett library, and that went very well. We're going to do some further testing with them where they're going to actually be using live patrons. But if you are non-automated and you're interested in joining, you can just send me an email or send it to that info@exploremoreillinois.org, and I will get you in the queue. Once we've just finished some other testing, we can get you added as well. So other than that, if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer them. It went really smooth. I was actually expecting just kind of chaos on Go Live Day, which happens a lot, but it went very smoothly.
So I'm a SWAN library.
Yeah.
So how do we get in?
So what will happen is we're in contact with SWAN. We're just doing some basic testing. We'll create a test account. Basically, we'll probably create a fake SWAN library in the system and make sure that that test account works properly. And then I'll have further talks with SWAN about how we'll start implementing each library. I don't know how they're going to want to do it, if all the libraries will go on at once or we'll going little by little adding SWAN libraries, but we'll contact the SWAN libraries when we're able to accept individual libraries. Yeah, so we'll definitely let you know. Or SWAN will let you know, and then we can start working on adding you. Yeah.
I think it's really important to say also that we already know that it's going to grow. I mean, Jessica's actually been traveling quite a bit around Illinois in her little amount of time to meet with attractions.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting ones coming up. One, if you don't mind, if I
Sure.
like the Harris.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking with them.
Yeah, you're talking with them. A lot of sites in Springfield, which I think makes sense because obviously it's our capital. We have there's a lot of historic sites there. They have a whole association down there, and so they're very interested. Just all around the state, there are places that, when they hear about it, they're interested in being part of it. And, sometimes it's a free admission and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's reduced parking or something. But I think it's going to grow, and we really appreciate suggestions and recommendations if you have sites.
And especially if you have a relationship with someone at a heritage site, a museum, a zoo. We've been, contacting places that we know we want to add, but having that personal contact helps so much, and it makes it go faster. So if you have an existing relationship with cultural organizations in your community, that would be great if you could, email me, put them on the email, and we can start talking about adding things, because it just goes a little faster when we already have an existing relationship or we have a name with somebody at that organization. So that's helpful.
Any questions? All right, well, I feel like I need to go around and check in with the sites that we haven't heard from. There's a lot of people out. I'm going to do that. So does anybody in Bolingbrook have anything that they want to ask or suggest? I guess not. Okay. Coal Valley?
That was weird because I pressed it and it didn't stay. Doesn't seem like it.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. How about East Peoria?
You're live.
I don't think anybody has any questions.
Okay, I just want to be sure. Vernon and Burr Ridge been doing a lot of talking here. So, all right, how about Aurora?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. How about Freeport?
Good too. Thanks, though.
Okay, I think ILA has signed off. Let's see, Carolyn, you have anything
Actually,
you want to say?
Dee,
No, she's still
sorry, Dee?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
You know what? I've been popping in and out. Sorry, I'm doing our budget too. Because I was curious, and I was working on budget stuff and figures. But this might be an interesting tidbit for folks. I went back to look at the cost of living increase compared to the minimum wage percentage increase. Over the last time the minimum wage was raised was in 2010, and over that time period, the minimum wage first level increase mandated now is $1 from $8.25 to $9.25. $1 is a 12% increase. Over that same time period, the cost of living has increased 14%. So this first wave of minimum wage increase is actually less than the cost of living increase over a similar time period. I just thought that was a bit that I wanted to share.
It is, and a very useful one. Thank you.
Hey,
Yes.
Dee, can I ask Diane a clarifying question?
Yep.
It's Kate. Okay, so Diane, you were saying the cost of living increase. Are you going based on the Social Security Administration cost of living increase, or where? I just wanted to clarify where the data.
That's exactly the one. Yep.
Okay,
that's
cool.
exactly the one.
Thanks. That is interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so then there was somebody who wanted to say something. Was it in Coal Valley? Or what? No, that was Diane. I'm sorry. So, okay, where was I? Freeport. You said you were fine. Okay. Carolyn, did you have anything you wanted to say? Guess she's not there anymore.
Stepped away. I'm here, but I have nothing.
Oh, all right. No? Okay. How about Kankakee? Okay. LaSalle.
Hi, I don't think we have any questions right now. Thank you.
Alrighty. How about New Lenox?
We are good, thank you.
All right. Sterling?
Thank you. I'm good too.
Okay, and Emily, I understand that you're there in Sycamore, even though I couldn't hear you. Do you have anything you want to add or say at this point? Okay, I hope not, because I don't hear her. All right, and Vernon, are you good? Are you good?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then. We are now going to member section of the agenda, and we are going to hear first from the Eureka Public Library District and the Congerville, Goodfield, Eureka Community School District 140 on book bundles. You're all at East Peoria, is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm here for the school district as well as the library. Last April, we applied for a grant from Rails and we received it, and we called it our Book Bundles Grant. And the process was to improve the collaboration between the school district and the public library. In the fall of 2017, we had entered an interlibrary or intergovernmental agreement. We have two smaller elementary schools that are not within a library district, and we felt like this would be a way we could expand that a little bit. So the Book Bundles Grant was going to offer us the opportunity to extra materials to take to these two elementary schools. We started talking with the teachers in the fall at the teachers' meetings. We explained that they could email us or call. We showed them how to get on the website to ask for materials. We talked with them about these materials just staying in the classroom, but telling the children with cards they would be able to know materials. Our community serves about 6,600. From the time we started this in September until the end of March, the 133 materials that we had added have checked out 750 times. So we felt like it was effective. We've got materials at all the times right now, and we've seen an increase in student cards of about 18%. So we've been really happy with the way the process has worked for both the school and for the library.
Great.
Can I answer anything else for you?
What was
the
the
grant?
amount?
Okay, $2,375.
That's terrific. Any questions about this project anywhere? It was a great use of funds. Thank you for doing it. Hear from Lyle Public Library in Naper about there and the Naperville School District Families Together project. I think, Jean, you're going to talk about that?
Yes, thank you, Dee.
Yep.
Well, just to piggyback off of some of the discussion, my library is a pinnacle in literacy and English language development. I want to say how grateful we are to Dee and also Dan Bostrom for their help with not only submitting a multi-type grant, but also help with questions along the way. So thank you very much, and I would encourage any of you who are interested in submitting a grant about a project, do it, because it's ready for our libraries. Just some background about our program. We, several years ago, developed a partnership with the Naperville schools, and some of you may be wondering, our libraries in Lisle, why the Naperville schools? Well, it just so happens that more than half of our residents are in the district. So we had the unique opportunity of, in the Naperville School District, the Ann Reed Early Childhood Center is an early intervention preschool that is in the district, and we partnered with them and we were doing family nights at the library. So we began to see that parents who were coming, and these are at-risk parents, many of them socioeconomically at the lower end, English as a second language parents, limited language, limited opportunities for communication. And we started to see that there were many cultural differences in these families, in difference to the other families who were attending at the school. Cultural differences being the foreign parents not understanding how to discipline their children. We were seeing some evidences at the family nights of corporal punishment with little preschoolers. Now to the parents themselves, how to express their emotions, how to self-regulate, how to have self-care, how to know when something they were doing was not correct based on our norms in the United States. We were witnessing parents leaving small children home sleeping in cribs, walking children to school, or taking their family in the car to school. So these things were very troubling to us. So we decided that we needed to bring in a program for social emotional learning, a very important topic now in the schools. So we started a library where we bring in 15 to 20 at-risk families. They spend 1 hour having, the parents have English as a second language training by a certified teacher through Literacy DuPage, a contract teacher. And then in an adjoining meeting room, we have the little 0 to 5-year-olds who are receiving emotional learning and training. And then the second hour, we get the parents and the children together, and we've been working on reading and having them incorporate materials that we are purchasing from the grant. So the materials we have been purchasing are materials, for example, how to discipline or teach your child, how to control your anger, how to talk to your doctor, how to have your children understand that the way that you show love, affection, attention, and respect has to be in a positive. These things, based on research and based on our observation, help children with their reading achievement when they get to school. So we've had a lot of success. We've had outcomes that are both anecdotal and measurable. Out of the 15 to 20 families who attend our class every school year, all of our families have received library cards, and they use the library and they take their children to story times and so forth. So they're using other programs in the library, including our computer classes. And then we also have been having reading circles, so they're buying through our grant based on those social emotional topics. They're being read in our class, and they're also being read in reading circles at the preschool. Kim O'Neill is the learning resource director there, and she holds reading circles with the preschoolers. So the books that we're purchasing through the grant are also being enforced in not only at our class, but also in the school. And so anecdotally, we're seeing the parents being more engaged with their children in a more positive way. We're seeing the children more engaged with each other. You know, typically children in that age group are in individual play, and they fight and they share and they take toys away. So we're seeing, by observing, you know, very positive effects of these materials that we've been purchasing, where even though their understanding level is not always at the level that we think they should be, but even the books that we're buying have illustrations, easy to see pictures of emotions. We've also had several speakers come in from the DuPage County Mental Health Department. One of our speakers used emojis to express the emotions, and that was very effective in having the parents and the children understand it's important to have positive social emotional development. So if any of you are interested in any information about our program, please let me know. We've had an ESL program at our library for about 25 years. So we also developed, we have in our collection, we have pulled out of Dewey, our collection, English as language development collection. So we have neighborhoods. So we're also, as a result of the grant, adding a families area where we're incorporating the adult books that we bought for the parents and then the children's books. So our grant allowed us to have books that we can give away to the parents, home libraries, and to use at home, and then also to have in our collection and in the collection at the Learning Resource Center. The other anecdotal outcome from our strategies is that 2 of our moms have started their own little home group, reading group, with other parents from independently. So we're so happy about that too. It's a very encouraging that they feel confident enough to be able to get together and talk about the ways that they need to improve their social emotional work with their children and their families, their health care, their, you know, how to help themselves. It's all been very positive, and we're very grateful for the grant.
It's great.
Thank
Really
you.
sounds like a great project.
Thank you.
Any questions anywhere for Jean? I'm sure people can get in touch with you. If
Absolutely.
at Lyle.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
happy to share any of our information.
Great. Well,
Thank
thanks for
you.
coming and telling.
I do have one question, not for Jean, but regarding the book bundles, just whether or not they were elementary schools that you worked with?
We have some programs that we've.
Now talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. The book bundles did go out to the elementary schools.
Great.
Okay.
Can I add one thing? Part of the grant is seeing and making sure that in our marketing materials, our Rails grant is mentioned. So we did, at ILA in October, I did present a poster session, and it was very well attended. We had a lot of interest from very small libraries throughout the state also who are seeing more immigrants come, and so this is an important area, especially with all the negativity about immigration in our society today. We want to encourage that our libraries are safe places, safe havens, and we want to encourage all types of patrons to come in. I also presented at that was in February in Naperville, and that's the Illinois teachers of speakers of other languages. And so we had a lot of positive feedback also, and a lot of marketing about our grant.
That's
so
tremendous.
thank you.
That's great. Yeah, it's important to reach out, just, not just talk to libraries.
Absolutely.
So, and next is Harper Community College in Prospect
Sorry.
Heights.
Oh,
I think.
wait, I don't have a microphone.
Oh, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
Dee, it's Kate. Jorge has a quick question.
So, quick question. This is Jorge from River Grove. Do you have to be popular with the social emotional learning, is there any near future to have a mental health worker or a social worker on staff, since that seems to be a trend in libraries, helping the communities, or some type of partnership with the schools, having the social worker come a couple hours a week?
Well, we have had, we don't have plans to add a social worker to our library at this time. There is a worker at the Early Childhood Center who works with the parents. We have had a mental health consultant and county board come in and talk to our families. So right now, we don't have someone specific, but that is something that we've been thinking about. We also look at safety issues for the parents. So we also have had someone come in from Northwestern Memorial talking about car seat safety. Our observation, some of the parents don't have transportation. So we were able through the school district to have a cab service. But for those who do have cars, we're finding that many of them didn't have their children in car seats, and so, and that's by law. So we brought in someone to talk, and they were able to buy car seats for very like $10. They had car seats available for them. So yes, thank you. We're really trying to focus on having professional people in that area because, of course, as librarians and teachers, that's not, we're not in the social work area, so we need to have help. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Harper College and Prospect Heights?
Yes. Okay, so my name is Donna, and I work at Harper Community College, which has a large campus in Palatine, but I actually work at a small boat that is in Prospect Heights, and our branch primarily serves students who are coming for ESL or GED, and they have a unique program in the nights where the parents can go to their classes and they have free babysitting for their elementary age children. So it aligned with something that we wanted to do, which was to help with their digital literacy for the students' children who come into the library at night. And the way that we have it set up is about an hour each night they come to the library and they do some independent or group reading, and then they have free time. So in the free time, we've noticed that they wanted to play video games, and with this grant, we are able to purchase Kindles and then also use those to teach coding skills. So I called Prospect Heights Public Library, and their youth programming librarian, Beth Klein, she also wanted to offer a similar program. Most of the children that we serve, almost, I think 97% qualify for free lunch. So this is a group that we wanted to get them empowered with some of the skills for actually being makers on their technology and not just consumers. A little snag with, first of all, the Kindles that we were planning on purchasing weren't offered by Amazon by the time that we got the grant, so we still got Kindle Fires, but a different version. But then the program that we were going to use called Scratch, which is from MIT, was no longer compatible with the Kindles. But then Beth called CodeSpark Academy, which actually turned out to be excellent because it also provides the lesson plans. So it worked out really nicely. We've been able to serve upwards of 100 students. Sometimes it's the same student coming back. I have a kind of captive audience at Harper that I'm working with are there every night, whereas Beth had 2 different programs. Her evening programs weren't as well attended, but she has a coding club right after school, so it's been very popular there. And it's really exceeded our expectations. In the first class I taught, the students went beyond the lesson plan that I had for them because they really loved it. A lot of them had never heard of programming as a career, or they never thought about how Minecraft was made and how there's people who do that. And through this sort of block coding that they get to use with CodeSpark, they are learning about algorithms and looping, and I mean, it's amazing how quickly they picked it up. So it's been a huge success. And actually, we're hoping to possibly then do some of this with the parents as well, and maybe doing some family coding programs too.
What was the program you ended up using? Spark something?
It's called Codes, and it's actually free for educators. So it's a paid program if you want to get it for your own personal use, but we were able to get teacher accounts so that we could add multiple devices to that one classroom, and it's totally free then for teachers. And librarians.
Great. That sounds like a wonderful program too. Those are great statistics. Yeah. Any questions for Donna? Always helps to have a captive audience, too.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's 11:45, so I'm running a little bit late, but we had a lot to talk about today. Does anybody have anything they want to share, any news that anybody wants to share at this point?
We have
Yes,
something to share at
Steve.
Vernon. I'm
sure you do. Yes, go ahead, Jean, here in Burr Ridge.
Okay, so we have a group of literacy library staff and social service agencies who train volunteer tutors. It's called Learn Libraries English and Reading. Joe Popovich from Indian Prairie Library and I started the group about 12 years ago. We had a workshop here in 2010 at Rails, or then SLS, I think. But anyway, we have a fall and a spring meeting every year, and we have our spring meeting on Tuesday, April 16th. Meetings at the Skokie Public Library. We try to alternate between North Side and South Side libraries. So we want to invite any of you who are interested in literacy, ESL programming, to come to our meetings. We haven't done any webinar yet, but so you know, if you're interested, we also have an email group, and we are a networking group, so we share a lot of information on the times that we're not meeting. And so it really is good, and as librarians, of course, and library staff, we always are collaborative and sharing. So if you have a program, you're thinking about starting a literacy or ESL program in your library, you can let me know, or you can contact Joe Popovich at Indian Prairie, and we'll add you to our our email list. We started out with 5 libraries when we began our group, and now we have libraries and social service agencies in our email group. So,
Great.
April 16th, Tuesday, and if you can just
That's
come.
Skokie.
Yes, that's
Great.
Skokie. Yes,
Okay,
2 to
thank
4.
you. Yes, Vernon, yes.
All right, this is Kate Hall again from the Northbrook Public Library. I wanted to just mention my colleague Kathy Parker and I, she's currently the interim director at the Homewood Public Library, have a new book, well, our first book, coming out from ALA Editions this June called The Public Library. I did bring some stuff here to Vernon for people, but if you have any interest in it, it's basically how to run a public library. And if you're interested, I do have coupons that you can contact me at kate.hall@yahoo.com, and I can send them to you. But we're hoping that Kathy and I both we both wish we had when we first became library directors, because there isn't a manual. So we're hoping that this will help. So that's it. And then Selena has something.
And Selena has something as well. Oh, we need a microphone. I got to do a microphone shift.
Okay, I am very pleased to announce that I received the Illinois, or Count Me In Illinois Census 2020 grant. The Forefront, thank you. Forefront had 1.5 million. We received requests in the amount of 6.5 million, and so because they spread it out so much, not everybody got fully funded, but we got funded. So I didn't quite get as much funding as I hoped, but I will now be hitting up my partners to give me more money, or give me money, not more money, just give me money. A census, we're going to call it a census engagement specialist. It sounds very fancy. Basically, this is an education grant, and for our hard to count communities, where also not only is it the education part, but setting up the library as a safe to fill out the census and to have them understand they need to come and do that. Otherwise, people will knock on their door. So in order to avoid knocking on the door, they need to come in and fill it out is the basic idea. So that is all getting worked out at the moment. In Lake County, only 3 of us, as I understand it, received Chicago. Myself and the city of Waukegan as a partner, and Mano a Mano, which is a partner of ours in Lake County. So we'll hopefully be doing some of that soon. Thank you.
That is great news, and thank you. Congratulations. Getting the count done.
I do have a couple things.
Yep, couple things from streaming. Yep.
Someone is sharing that Cersei Dynex Library Users Group of Illinois has their annual meeting and program on May 7th at Downers Grove from 3:15. And also a neat comment about Unity Point Trinity Medical Center. April is National Poetry Month, and healthcare emphasizes evidence-based practice, and there is evidence that poetry can help with the compassion side of healthcare. Time with our patients more meaningful.
Very good.
And I'll do one. Yes. Downers Grove Library, just a please help me. We have two of our two full-time jobs in our public relations department and expected retirement. One is retiring in April, one is retiring in August. So we have marketing content coordinator and graphic design and display coordinator. If you know some great PR people who are good with words or good with pictures, send them to me. They are great full-time jobs. Get people in as soon as possible because our PR manager can't do it all herself. Thanks.
Wow, yes. Yes.
So this is Roberta at Morris Area Library. We actually received a grant through Rails. We'll be having Ryan Dowd come out and speak at our library in October, doing the thing that he does. So I think out in our area, sometimes it's tough for people to travel to some of the places it's been before. So it'll be up on Rails, and it's on a Friday in October. I can't remember the exact date. Thank you, Rails.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mill Edgeville is sharing that they have an egg hunt, and each egg has a Hershey's Kiss and a line of poetry in it. Each line then gets added to the board with our poems on it. And it says we have added about 6 lines so far and several more to go. So it's cute.
Great. All right then, well, this has been great, and we appreciate all your input and suggestions. We're going to get right to work, especially Joe and Grant and me. So let's see, our next member, Mary.
July 18th, Thursday, July 18th.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I have to get this one in because I
Yeah.
didn't miss anybody else. So National University of Health Sciences was awarded 2 grants recently. Carly Counts and NN. Congratulations.
Excellent. Grants are good. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great day and week.